Okay, good morning everyone. My name is Audrey Felderman, and today I'm here to talk to you guys about my nonprofit, SIPS. But first I'd like to talk to you guys about a couple problems. The first is that there are 40 million Americans who are food insecure. That means that 40 million people don't know where their next meal is coming from. That's 1 in every 8 people. 12 million of these are children, and that's only the first problem. The second problem is that there are 133 billion pounds of food waste in our landfills every year. That's over 40% of our total food supply. Now, you may be thinking, well, these are global numbers. They don't affect us. But unfortunately, they do. Over 20,000 people in Johnson County, Iowa are food insecure. That's more people than can fit in Carver Hawkeye Arena. Additionally, there's over 34,000 tons per year of food waste in our landfills. So if you're anything like me, you would be sitting there thinking, well, what can I do? Which is why I founded SIPS, which is a nonprofit organization that seeks to alleviate the amount of food waste and food insecurity in Johnson County, Iowa by repurposing produce that's lower grade or ugly that local grocery stores can't sell into blended drinks and then donating it back to the food insecure community. Now, I certainly couldn't be doing this alone, so hi, I'm Audrey Felderman, that's me, as well as my Chief Financial Officer, Kewal Patel, along with our mentors, who's a former Vice President of eBay, Nikki Ross, who's the Executive Director of Table to Table, a local food rescue nonprofit, and Mimi Dyer, who's the Board President of La Soup, which is a nonprofit that repurposes food into soup in Cincinnati, Ohio. So what makes us different, right? I just talked about 2 nonprofit organizations that are doing some amazing work, and there's many more in Iowa City. But what none of them do is repurpose this food. So why repurpose it? Well, there's 3 big reasons. The first is that it can extend the shelf life. By using milk alternatives such as hemp milk, almond milk, soy milk, and oat milk, we can extend the shelf life from 7 to 11 days. There's also no consumer preparation, so these people that we're serving don't need a microwave or they don't need an oven. It's grab and go, and it's that nutrition on the go. Finally, there's a ton of health benefits. The CDC recommends that adults get 2 cups of fruits per day and roughly 2 to 3 cups of vegetables. Our drinks have 100% of the recommended daily allowance of these fruits and vegetables. And the people that we're serving need it. They are severely malnourished in calcium and vitamin B because they are food insecure. These people also make less than $20,000 annually and have roughly 1 to 3 children and are visiting the food pantries and food banks at least once or twice per week. So how does this work? Well, first, the local grocery stores like Hy-Vee or other grocery stores in the area will identify produce that they know they can't sell. That's when they'll contact us and we'll go and we'll pick it up. Once we pick it up, we'll take it to our processing kitchen, which is now in Tiffin, Iowa, and we'll process it into our blended drinks. We'll then package them into bottles, and then we have 2 streams that we can go from there. First, we will be donating them to places like Shelter House, DVIP, and food banks, and using those existing distribution channels. And in the second year, we plan to supplement our income by selling them at specific events like the Farmers Market, Summer of the Arts, as well as Hawkeye football games. As I mentioned, we will have distribution channels that are already existing, like Shelter House, Domestic Violence Intervention Program, the food banks, and food pantries. This will allow us to not have to focus on the direct distribution to the end consumer, but instead distributing to those people. We plan to have 3 major funding sources, which are grants, beverage sales, as well as donations. The grants will allow us to get us up and running on the first year, and the beverage sales will allow us to be self-sustaining beginning after the second year. We will use the money that we have to fund our ventures, mostly in packaging. As we plan to donate a lot, we'll need to spend a lot on packaging. Additionally, we'll be spending a decent amount on the licensing and fees because in order to be FDA compliant, we'll have to license our commercial kitchen. And additionally, we still need to register as a 501c3 nonprofit. So our first steps. We've already completed finding a kitchen, first round prototyping, and our marketing materials. In the future, we plan to register as a 501c3, license our kitchen, and get drinks into our distribution channels. After that, we plan to upgrade our equipment and then start selling in the second year at events. With following these steps in the first year alone, we can give 3,000 food insecure people in Johnson County the nutrition that they need. This will decrease the food insecure population in Iowa City by And that's why we want to help. Thank you. Have any questions? Hi.
So who's the first store that you're planning to work with to get this food?
So right now we're actually working with local farmers, but for the first store we're looking to work with Hy-Vee and potentially natural grocers.
Do you have like different recipes you use? I know it's probably kind of dependent on like what you can get, but
Yeah, absolutely. As I mentioned, I'm kind of right now working with local farmers as well as gleaning my own produce. But so right now I'm making like a strawberry mint one that I found that people enjoy. There's a kale one from local kale gardens. I plan to do like a PB&J one this week. So I'm trying prototypes. I made a tomato one because obviously the things we're going to be getting isn't all fruit, and that was interesting. But it's definitely an experimental process because we want it to taste good too.
Could you talk to us about, I don't know if you've tested this with your consumer market yet. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been touching base with Table to Table, Shelter House, as well as some of the other distribution channels that I mentioned, and talking to them about the sort of things that people typically take from food pantries and food banks and what are those hot items. So produce is something that people want more of, especially these people who are malnourished and they know they are. And so that's something that always goes really quickly. But unfortunately, these places can't serve the bad produce, and they can't extend that shelf life, right? So that's hopefully where I'll come in and be able to serve them not only more of this produce that they want, but do it in a way that's really easy for them and makes it longer lasting. Sorry, yes.
What is your current capacity in your Tiffin location?
So current capacity, I do have 3 industrial blenders. I haven't pumped out a ton on each of those right now as I'm still making test batches, but I believe I can do about 30 per day, so pump that out.
Grants is a pretty broad area. Do you have particular types of grants that you're going to go after?
Yes, absolutely. So there's kind of 2 streams of grants we're looking at because of the nonprofit, but also the waste diversion. There's a lot of money out there from the DNR that's looking to be donated to organizations trying to keep waste out of our landfills, so we're going to go down that stream. But as well, there's a lot as backing for food insecurity. There's a lot of grants available if you're working on that mission of like a charitable organization.
What about refrigeration?
Yes, so the Kitchen Out in Tiffin has a walk-in cooler, as well as all the distribution partners that I mentioned, they have coolers as well.
What is your packaging like for your snacks?
Right, so currently right now they're in plastic bottles because that's what our budget can allow for. Hopefully in the future we want to transition into glass bottles in order to make it a more sustainable company, as well as do like a glass return policy, because if they're all distributing out of these partnerships, I think we have a good chance of getting them back if there's, a discount for that. So yeah, hopefully we're going to transition into glass, but right now it's plastic.
So what is your pricing structure that you're looking at putting in your future with selling these?
Right, absolutely. So in the future when we sell them, we're going to sell them for $5 a bottle. It's roughly $1.50 to make them, so we'll have margins on that. That'll allow us, we do have a plan to put our mission on there, but as well as a buy one, give two, because it's all the money is going back into the business because it is a nonprofit. So with every one we sell at $5, we're able to donate 2 more.
What's your competition? I mean, you don't have competition in this market, but are there other nonprofits or businesses like this that have validated the business model elsewhere?
Yeah, as I mentioned, the Le Soup in Cincinnati, so that is actually, they make soup, which was kind of the original idea, but that comes from, they have a French chef, and so she was able to use that expertise and learn how to make soups, but they're actually really big and growing. I've spoken with them, and Mimi is one of my mentors, so that's really great. But also, strictly in Iowa City, there's no one repurposing it, which is why I'm trying to implement this now. But also, Table to Table does a great job rescuing food. They rescue 3.5 million pounds a year, which is great. And so with that rescuing, we hope to extend that shelf life so that it can go even further.
And you said, so soups were your original idea. Why
Yep.
did you pivot from soups to smoothies?
Because I think, as I mentioned, the no consumer preparation, I think that that's something that I wanted to consider, and I didn't know, if I freeze the soup so that I can make it longer, how do they, if they don't have access to electricity and they can't warm this up, how are they going to make this into something that is still a meal for them? As well as I thought realistically about what it is that I can do tomorrow, right? So if I want to start this now and get this off the ground, I have a blender and I have the mindset to blend produce, but as far as soup, I can't really cook that yet. We're working on it, but because that's also a future plan, is to extend into a Sips Soups line.
And one other question. So we're doing smoothies. What about fruit juices?
Fruit juices, yes. So that's a little bit more tricky because their shelf lives are a lot different. By using the milk alternatives, that's how I can extend it. Whereas that opens the door for like a lot of almost diseases, because there's a lot of touch and go with that sort of thing.
Right. So I feel like if you have a stand at like an event, you could do some of those juicing on site.
Mhm.
It's almost like premium one of those things. But my question is, have you reached out to any other chefs or people who love to help in this, like Kirkwood Kitchen or someone like that, to help partner to help you scale or come up with new recipes or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have not yet talked to Kirkwood's Kitchen, but I've talked to John's Grocery, which they have a full kitchen, as well as Bread Gardens, which also has a full kitchen, and they were both very interested in just getting a bunch of local chefs together and giving them a pile of produce and seeing where we can go. So I think as far as expanding into that Sip Soups and also maybe testing to see what else we can do with all this produce, they're very interested in getting to experiment. They said they love that, so I'll hopefully run some test batches with those guys.
How do you plan to scale this beyond Johnson County?
Right, so I think commercializing the kitchen is the first step, but then distributing and being able to be self-sustaining, so selling those and being able to then put the money back into the business, the revenue that we find, I think that's how we'll be able to scale it. The more recognition we can get from selling them, the more people will want to help and help our mission, which will allow us to donate more. So for scalability, we want to move to a food truck, and hopefully that will allow us to be mobile. That's a couple years in the future, but that's kind of how we plan to scale it.
So how can we, as people in the community, help you?
So I think it would be really great if you know of anybody who is like a local farmer, or if you have any connections at the Hy-Vee or local grocery stores. That way, for the farmers, I'm looking into doing some gleaning projects where I can go through their fields and get the things that it costs them to harvest. So just those contacts would be really great. My contact information's here, and I'll stick around after for a while too.
How about manpower as you grow? Is this something you're going to be doing by yourself? You seem to have a small team. Are you going to take volunteers to help run these drinks? Do you have to be certified?
Absolutely. So as long as the kitchen's certified, you don't have to be like personally certified, which is really nice and helpful, and it will allow us to accept volunteers. But also we want to grow in that, we're in a university town now, and I think a lot of people could use, like I took a course on nonprofit education. A lot of people want to know about this and they want to get involved. So I think involving more people in the community is going to be our long-term goal, and being able to budget with, being self-sustaining will also allow us to have the funds to pay someone to join our team, and hopefully scalability will allow us to do that as well. Okay.
Is there no other, are you just scratching your head?
Yeah, I was scratching.
If there are no other questions, do you have any closing thoughts, since David stole my usual final question?
Yeah, as I mentioned, just reach out to me if you know anybody who is like a farmer, local farmer, or anybody connected in the Hy-Vee industry. Thanks for sitting through my presentation.
Thank you.